Hello friends, welcome back to Piano Lessons with Joel. Today's lesson is going to be a kind of a recap of our primer series, our 3-video primer series, and we'll go over our worksheets that we had for each one of those videos. So if you have these handy, go ahead and get them out. We'll go ahead and we'll clap through all the exercises that we have. I have on the board our first written exercise that we needed to do, and then we'll finish up with the worksheet for lesson 2 and lesson 3. Okay, so to begin with, let's go ahead and do some gentle hand stretching again. I'm hoping you've been doing these throughout the course of the weeks as we've started this. Again, gentle here, gentle, and pulling those fingers back. All right, we'll keep this short. So let's jump over to our other hand. Whichever hand you started with is fine. And let's go ahead and pull this back. I'm not sure what those bubbles are for. I'm going to have to try to get them off there. All right. We have that. I wonder if those bubbles come up when I put my thumbs up. Okay, and then the other one we did was bringing our hands together. And again, we'll talk a little bit more about this one when we have our book with us. And then just gently bring our curve, because again, we're trying to keep our fingers naturally curved. Okay, and then bring them back up and back down. And you can go through each one of the fingers, bringing them back. Okay, and this is my ring finger, 4th finger, and then my pinky here. And stretch them all the way. Let's do our thumbs. Okay, and this is all we're going to do for tonight. Okay, but I encourage you to make sure you're doing your stretching daily. Okay, so let's take a look at our work that we do on the piano to bring our fingers up, our finger falls, we'll say. Let's switch to a new scene here that has 3 different camera angles. And again, this is the one that you can do on a countertop at your desk. If you happen to have your keyboard, that's fantastic. So let's start with the right hand. Again, I'm at middle C here. Here's my 2 black keys, middle C. And my fingers are curved. Okay, I'm going to bring my thumb up and down. Keep your thumb down, and now bring your first finger up and down. I'm sorry, that's actually your 2nd finger. And then your 3rd finger up and down. And 4th finger, this is on the F, and down. And our pinkies, finger number 5 up and down. Okay, and let's bring our 4th finger up and down. That one's a little bit tricky, isn't it? It's kind of hard to keep everything else anchored for that. And then up and down and down. Okay. There's different variations of that exercise we can do, but that's kind of the idea for now. Let's do our other hand, since we're kind of in this particular lesson to go over all the worksheets. Okay, right now I'm just following down worksheet number 1, where it says, be sure to let each finger gently fall on the piano keys or a desk or a table. And down. Okay, and let's go back up. And back up. Our 2nd finger. And again, we can do this with both hands like this. And just take your time to relax with these. Remember to keep your wrist up and shoulders relaxed. And back to our thumbs. And again, go ahead and shake these out. Gosh, in one of the cameras should get that right. Shake them out. You can shake them down at your side too. Shake them at your side. And then just keeping your fingers moving. Again, these are some actions you can do. These are some exercises you can do even away from the piano. Okay. So let's go ahead and get back to, or get on to our worksheet. Let's bring it back here. So if you have your Primer Lesson 1 worksheet. That's the one that I was looking at to begin with. Let's go ahead and we'll clap our tas, say our tas as we do it, and then we'll we'll go ahead and clap our tas, our TTs, and then we'll take a look at the board. For this, how about I show it to you with a screen share? We'll go to here, give me a second, we'll go to that. Isn't that crazy? Well, and then we have this. Okay, so we're looking at number 1. If you have your paper in front of you, that's fantastic. Let's go ahead and clap. Starting with the first line that we have there, all tas in that first measure. Ready and go. Ta, 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 ti, ti, ta. Nice. Let's go on to the next line. Now the next line, be careful, we have a rest on beat number 2. And then we have another rest on beat number 3 of the next measure there. Okay? Ready, here we go. Ta, 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 ti, ti, ta, ta. Nice. Okay. So I'm trusting we did fine with that. If you need to rewind the video, go ahead and do that. Let's move on to number 6. And then for number 6, I'll bring you back to the bring up to the board here. And I have number 6 up here on the board. All right, and for number 6, we were to label each note or rest with the appropriate ta, tt, or r for rest. Okay, I don't think we did any of the r for rest in our lesson last week, but I think that was easy enough to figure out. Okay, so I'm hoping here these are kind of understood at this point. We have tt, and we can label above or below. I'm going to put the tt, I'll put it below because that's the way the worksheet is. Okay, so we have t, t, ta, t, t, ta. Okay, and we can put little dashes in between the TTs because they are beamed together there. We don't have to, but we can. All right, over here we have that's a rest, so let's put an R. And we have an R. Over here we have ta and ta. All right, so take a second, make sure you have those correct. Again, you can always go back into the video to make sure you have everything correct. Bring this down a little bit so it doesn't reflect so much. A lot of reflection on this whiteboard here. Okay, shall we go ahead and clap and say this line that we just labeled? Okay, ready and go. Ti, ti, ta, ti, ti, ta, ta, ta. Okay, how'd you do? Was that may have been a little fast. If it was too fast, I apologize. We'll slow it down when we get to this second one down here. Okay, so again, I have this rhythm up here. Now I realize that down here, this is in the bass clef that we worked a little bit more on in lesson 3. I'm not going to worry about that because we're not worried about the pitch in this exercise at all. So let's just go ahead and write in the tas and tts as we just did. All right, so we begin down here. I'm going to put these on the bottom too. We have ta, 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 t, t. And again, we can put a dash in there, right? And then we have our bar line separating our measure from the second measure. We have a bar line. This is a TT. Put a little dash in there. And rest, rest. And then we have ta there. Okay. How'd you do? Does that look a little bit like what you have there? I hope so. If not, that's fine. We have plenty of time to get all this figured out here, right? Hoping I'm still on the camera when I'm talking to you. All right. So let's go ahead and do this one. Let's use my marker. Okay, you can clap. You can tap at home. Okay, whichever you want to do. I'm going to tap here on the board. Ready and go. Ta, 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 ti, 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 ta. Do okay? All right. For fun, just for great fun, let's go from the beginning up there all the way to the end. And honestly, at the end there, because that's the last, I should actually have what we call a double bar line or a final bar line. Oh, I just made a mess of that. Okay, and that lets us know we're at the end of our composition here. All right, let's do it. Okay, get your clap ready, get your tap ready, whatever you're going to do, and say it with me. Ready and go. Ti ti ta, ti ti ta, ta 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 ta, ti 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 ti, ta. How'd you do? You all right? Cool. All right, so let's move on, and I'm going to erase all this right now. As you get your the next paper up, okay, so that was all of worksheet number 1. How about you go ahead and pick up your worksheet number 2, and we'll do the same thing. We'll clap and say that. Let me take care of this. So for this one, let's see, primer lesson, clap and say the following rhythm. So this was just kind of a little bit more practice from lesson 1, a little bit of review. So how about we just do it? I'm not going to put it up on the board. I'm trusting that you are right there where I am. Okay, let's say it together. 2, ready and go. Ta 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 ta. Ta, ta, ti, ti, ta. Good? All right, let's move on. Number 2, draw in bar lines to complete the example. Okay, so for this one here, obviously the bar lines, where are we here? The bar lines are missing in this example. So we talked about how many beats we have in a measure. We have 4 beats in a measure. With our time signature, right? 4 beats in a measure. We know that because of the time signature, and we need to put in our bar line. Okay, so let me go ahead and put this on the board. We'll go back over here. So we have, in this one, we have our time signature, 4/4, and I think last week, or in lesson number 2, I may have just put, I'll draw this over here, 4/ta, okay? And those two mean exactly the same thing. In other words, I could put 4/ta. That tells us the 4 beats in a measure, and that a ta gets 1 beat. The 4 on the bottom means exactly the same thing as that ta. Let's hold off on that. We'll get into that a little bit more later once we get into the book. All right. So here's beat number 1. This is beat number 2. That is a rest, right? But it's beat number 2. Beat number 3 also has a rest. Beat number 4, guess what we need to put right here? Your bar line. So go ahead and make sure you have your bar line right there. This is beat number 1, 2, 3, and. It's on the upbeat, 3 and. That's beat number 4. And we have that bar line at the end there, which I left on the board, so I kind of gave you that one, right? Okay. And if we are to clap this, we have, let me clap it for you first, and then we'll do it together. Here we go. You listen. And 1, 4, 1, 3, and 4. Okay? All right. Say it with me. Ready and go. 1, 4, 1, 3, and 4. Okay, and those are our 4 beats in each measure. Okay, the next thing we had to do here, fill in the missing time signature, then fill in notes or rests to complete each measure. All right? Okay, so let me see if I can get this set up here. So the bar line we already have in there. So we have beat 2 and beat 4 missing, and we have beats 2 and beats 3 missing over here. So what did you put in there? You could have put, well, you could have put anything we want in there. I want to put in I want to put a TT right here. Okay, so my beat number 2 is going to have a TT. So I have 1, 2, and 3. And let's see, by the time I get here, I'm exhausted, so I'm going to put a rest in there. Okay, so rest on beat number 4, 4. 1, 2, and 3. 1 and let's do this. Another TT. 2 and let's make beat number 3 rest. Okay? Does that look anything like what you have there? All right, so when I clap this out, I'm going to have, whoops, forgot to label beat 3 over here. I have 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. Okay, remember this should be silent. These rests need to be silent, so this time I will make them silent. Here we go. Clap this one with me. Ready, here we go. 1, 2, and 3. 1 and 2 and 4. Okay. Practice yours now. Okay, take a minute, go through yours. Make sure it sounds something like this. Not exactly the same because you probably have your tas and TTs in different spots than I do. Okay? And in the meantime, I want to get ready for the next one. All right. Ready to move on? We're on the very bottom now. Okay, right there. Okay, right there. Okay. Write a 2-measure rhythm. So here's a measure, and here's a measure. I left the bar line there from the other exercise. Using quarter notes, or in 4/4 time, using quarter notes, quarter rest, and eighth notes. Remember to write in the time signature as well. So we're using quarter notes or tas, quarter rests or ta rests, which we've been using, and eighth notes, which are the same as TTs, right? Okay. Time signature, you need to write that in. So let's put in 4/4, like I have here, or if you have 4 over the quarter note or the ta, that is acceptable as well. It's exactly the same thing. All right? So beat number 1, let's see, what do I want to put on beat number 1? I know I am going to put my beat number 1 is going to be silent. All right? Sorry. Let's put in my note heads first. We'll keep it on this line here. Okay. Okay, so my beat number 2 has a TT. Or a beat 1 there, right? Or a ta. What are we writing in here? For this, I want to go back to TTs and tas, okay? So we'll have our rest, and then TT, TT, and then rest there, okay? And let's see, I have one more measure to fill in here. We haven't had a ta yet, so let's have a ta, and a ta, and how about a rest, and then just another ta. Okay. We'll make that one pretty simple. We've been doing a lot of work in the first measure. We'll make this one simple. So then we have ta, ta, rest, ta. Okay? So I'm hoping yours looks, well, it doesn't have to look a whole lot like that at all, but as long as you have your 4 beats of tas, TTs, or rest there. Okay, let's go ahead and clap this one. Ready and go. T, 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 ta, ta, ta. Nice, let's do that again. Actually, you know what, let's do it this time. Let's go ahead and put the counts in. So we have beat 1, and then 2, and 3, and beat number 4 is a rest. 1, 2, here's beat number 3, and 4. All right, let's do it. Last thing on this one, and then we're going to move on to our last worksheet. Ready and go. I'm sorry. Let's do that again. Ready, we're going to count. Ready and go. 2, and 3, and 1, 2, 4. Okay, how'd you do? I hope you did better than me on that one. Okay, how about we move on to worksheet number 3. Go ahead and get worksheet number 3 out. Ooh, I have a lot of notes to draw on this one too, don't I? All right, so go ahead and get 3 out. I'll clean up here. This one, we worked on using our hand staff. With our right hand, we had every good boy does fine. We had F-A-C-E, face, in the space. And then for our left hand, which plays in the bass clef, we had good boys do fine always. And then, I almost forgot this one, we had A-C-E-G, ace, G. We can also use all cows eat grass. For some reason on that video, I could not remember the all cows eat grass to help us with the spaces of the bass clef. Okay, so let's go ahead and I'll throw these up on the board and we'll name all these notes and then we'll be done for this video. It's gotten a little bit long. Thank you for sticking with me on this one. So make sure you have worksheet number 3 out. Let me get back to the board. So these, I'm hoping you noticed they're not necessarily in order, but they went pretty smoothly. So we had here, there, have a bar line in there, and then back down, and stems on each one of these. Whoops, that stem should be down. Not a major disaster though. Okay. So remembering that F-A-C-E, face in the space, here we have F. This one is A. C, F-A-C-E, very good. And then we have D. B, just making sure I had the correct notes up here, right? G, and E. Okay, so go ahead and check that with your own paper. Make sure you have all of that correct. All right, and as you're doing that, I'm going to go ahead and put up our next line here. What do we have? This one. Okay, so stem up, stems down. We'll talk about stems and how we know whether they go up or down. We'll do that later. Okay, so your first note is the same as number 1. So it is an F. All right, now this is a line note, so we need to think every good boy does fine. Okay, every good boy, that's a B. Every good, that one is a G. Space note, F-A-C. C. All right, and then next note is A. That's second space, A. Up here we have D. Then we have C. And then E. Okay. How'd you do? Let me know in the comments how you're doing here. I should say that all the time, right? Let me know in the comments how you're doing if you need. And then again, let me know if you need help on any of this. Is some of this being very blurry for you? A little confusing? Again, we have time to figure it out. Let's move on to the next one. All right, now we're going to be in the bass clef. I'm going to erase all these letters up here just so they're not confusing for us. Let me go ahead and throw these letters in for the bass clef, or these notes in. We're starting with here, down, up, up. Okay, so remember in the bass clef we need to think good boys do fine always. Good boys do fine always. And for the spaces, we're thinking all cows eat grass. Yeah, I can remember that one, right? Okay, so good boys, we have G, B, D, F, A, there's our A, C, E, right? E, A, C, and there is our A way at the bottom. Hey, how'd you make out with that? Go ahead and check, and we have one more line of this to do. Let me get rid of these. Down, down. Okay. All cows eat grass, right? There's our G. Ace, A-C-E-G, ace, G. That's our other one that I could remember last week, right? So that's an E. Good boys do fine. That's an A. B. G. All cows eat. Thank you. That's an E. Good boys. B. And bottom line in the bass clef is B. Bottom line in the bass clef is G. Yeah. All right. We have that. That is a G on the bottom line, I promise you. All right. Check that. Make sure you have everything. All right. And let's get to, you know what? I'm not even going to worry about the bottom one. I'm not going to worry about number 4. I'm trusting the notes that you wrote in are in great shape. Again, if you notice when I'm writing notes, if I'm in the space, if I'm writing space notes, then generally my note head is going that way. When I'm writing line notes or notes on the line, then generally I'm making kind of like a dash of a note head that way, and that just makes it a kind of a simple, easy, quick way to draw notes. So you can do the same thing with your pencil as you're writing the notes on the staff. All right. I trust that you're doing a great job with writing in those notes there on that bottom. All right. Let me know how you're doing in the comments below. Last thing we're going to do is I'll do a little playing here, and we'll work again on just your finger position on the keyboard. And again, we're going for a nice rounded shape of the hand. Notice up top, curved fingers. My thumb is up here. My pinky is able to touch. And you can see over here the curvature, my wrist above the keyboard. Same thing with my right hand there. And if I play a simple exercise, is all I'm going to do with that for now. Okay, folks, we've been on this video for quite a bit of time, so I want to wrap it up. Let me know if you have any questions with note naming, with the counting. We use a lot of tas and TTs, and we'll kind of move away from tas and TTs once we're confident on our counting and the subdivision of the beats and so forth. Let me know if there's any questions with your counting tas or with numbers. Let me know if there's questions with your time signature. There's a lot to unpack with all of this, right? So if you're not quite clear with everything now, we'll get it worked out. We'll figure it out as we go. Okay, that is it for this lesson today. Thank you for being here on this video with me today, and I will see you on the next video lesson of Piano Lessons with Joel. Take care and have a great day and keep practicing. Okay, bye-bye.